I don't have.
Go ahead, please. Yes, Janice, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just saying I don't have words to describe the horror that I guess have been to some extent isolated, insulated, or removed from full revelations of what went on, and probably lots more.
Yeah. Well, both Bobby and Esther lived in Mississippi.
Well,
So,
of course, I thought about that.
yeah. So they lived through this. They knew it.
Yeah, I remember that so vividly.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
that you had to go through that.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone. I want to talk today. Okay. So many things have changed in the course of a week now. And I want to talk today about what we were talking before we started recording a little bit, which is how do you balance? Because ascension is a thin line that exists between surrender and doing. And in order for ascension to occur, you have to have mastered moments where your spirit is guiding you and say, take action, do this. Another moment where spirit has said, stand fast, do nothing. In fact, detach and let go. Okay? Because there are moments where it's karma. There is a passage in the Bible, I don't remember exactly where it was, where the disciple of Jesus were asking him, they saw somebody that was disfigured or blind or something. I don't remember who it was. And the disciple were asking, is it because of the sin of his fathers? Which means the karma that he had inherited from his family, the family lineage thing. And I forgot what Jesus responded, but it was clear that the idea of karma, even to the current version of the Bible, edited in Nicaea in 325 in Constantinople, even that version is showing the idea of karma. So yes, there is karma in that moment. As a spiritual being, you have to figure out that's karma. I have to stay out of it. It needs to play out because the people involved need to understand, because that bottom that they're going through, that crisis, that trauma, is what's needed for a lesson, a bigger lesson to be learned. And and out of the time, you have to act. You have to quickly act and do something about changing what's around you. But only the inner conversation between you and your core and your God can tell you when to act and when to let go, when to be a witness and when to actually become socially active and ethically active. I'm always ethically active in a sense that I'm always empathetically sensing and feeling, and I'm always trying to figure out, should I get involved in this or should I not get involved and walk away? Now, given the situation around the world right now, where all kinds of political and social things are happening, the news today with what's happening with the presidential race is certainly turbulent in some ways. But I was just saying, but just before we got started recording, we should all be a witness to all of this and allow whatever karma that the people in the United States need to learn to be learned. And I'm trying to disconnect and detach myself far enough to allow that process to occur. And it's not easy because we're all coded and gridded to the group body of this nation. And as such, when something happens that affects everyone, since I'm part of that egregore, I will also be triggered to react. But ascension is you being the salmon swimming upstream and doing not what everyone else is doing, but to be consciously immortal and to make conscious decision at all time and to actually set your own sail according to the compass of your call, to the information that you're receiving from your call, whatever your course is. And my decision might be slightly different than yours because my descent and ascent is slightly different. No two individuals on the planet are exactly alike. We're not going to move as a even in the flock of starling, when you're watching all of them in memoration, they certain part of the geometry bend, other part or in a hill, and although they're all in surrender, but they appear to have very specific role in the millions of them that are flying that they are playing. So we have unique perspective and unique understanding, and it's that conversation with yourself that will give you the wisdom and the maturity that is needed to know when you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. And that's why I've been asking you through protocol after protocol, even last week when I talked about that, is to the protocol that we're supposed to be doing to align our consciousness to the collective work, the kind of like in sync, shoulder to shoulder, lockstep work that we're supposed to be doing. Last week, we talked at great detail about the idea of doing the shoes off in the morning or evening, doesn't matter, on the floor, touching the floor to get the negative ion, and doing the 12 universal breath, after which you have a conversation in your core by listening. This is mostly what you need to do to connect to your God. When you're in that moment where you are, when you're trying to you have to listen. And sometime when you're listening, you may discover things, you may sense things that you don't know what they are. At other moments, there are times when you're in your core and you're sitting down and you're listening, you hear absolutely nothing, meaning that you're in a state of rest. But that absolutely nothing is not a nihilistic void. It's filled with unpronounceable and unknowable healing. Meaning that I cannot, from a 3D perspective, tell you when I'm in that rest, what I am getting, but I know I am getting repaired because it creates inside of me not only rest, but on some level, a euphoria, a sense of incredible joy, an incredible sense of support and connectivity to a force that's so vast and so infinite that I know no harm can come to me. So if you can do that, so 5 minutes for you to do 12 breath, 5 minutes at a minimum to do a listening session with your core, and then after that, the torsion field of the guardian eyes of light. And then beyond that point, I had all emailed you these 9 prayers. Repeat one of the prayer as an intention to mark the intention that you're going to keep in your consciousness. The other conversation I had, again, because of all the turbulent news, and in other words, between now and January of next year, there's going to be so many crazy things that are going to happen as a way to trigger us into reactivity and cause us to become agitated, because again, we belong to multiple group bodies. You're a woman, you're a man, you're an American, you're a a person of color, or you're a white person, you're a you have an ethnic background, you are part of a family, and you're going to feel all kinds of ways by rhetorics, by actions that you're going to witness, and by everything that's going to happen around you in the entire environment that's going to cause all of us to be triggered. But remember, it's all Maya and illusion. And the reason for this is that you and I, all of you listening to me, we all came here to accomplish a very specific purpose: to stand in spiritual rectitude and verticality, to remain vertical and a witness in the chaos that's going to be swirling all around us. That's what I mean about spiritual rectitude and verticality. There's going to be all kinds of chaos. And if you're allowing your connection to all these other group bodies to trigger you as backdoors, you will not be able to do the work that you signed up for. And that's the point. These principalities, these dark principalities, are doing it for those reasons. I don't know if you're, and because I've been doing this practice, I can very easily see that there are certain things. I'm not going to get into the detail, and because it's going to get political, I don't want to get into that. But there are certain things that I'm witnessing. When I look at it, I see this is a rehearsed piece of theater. Something about this doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't make sense. And because of this, I have to disconnect. I have to realize there's a puppet master, an invisible puppet master that's orchestrating all of this. And it's a piece of theater. And as I'm becoming more and more non-attached from the Maya and the illusion, the more you can witness it, and the more you can realize, okay, this is all being orchestrated. And it's being orchestrated for what purpose? To catch your consciousness, specifically you and I, specifically the 144,000. It's to catch our consciousness and to keep us distracted from doing the real work we came here to do. This is specifically designed for this. So for those reasons, I'm more and more remaining detached. I spoke last week about the diet that you're feeding your soul. What mass media, what news channel, what that you're consuming, and as you allow that to come in, and the more of it comes in, it's going to alter your subconscious mind. It's going to fracture you. It's going to polarize you. It's going to brainwash you, because you're going to be it's going to be all gas. You're going to be gaslit into believing a whole bunch of things that are illusion. They are Mayas. From the perspective, we have to keep remembering who we are. I was on the waterfront. I was sharing with some of you last week that I was on the waterfront and last Sunday, and I had I did a long meditation, and I was very aligned and very connected. And a man that was sleeping on a recliner, that area is really well kept and patrolled and everything else. And he had his suitcase there, and him and his wife were laying there down there. And I see people laying down all the time. And anyway, he came in after I finished meditating and talking to a friend. He bowed down in front of me and namaste. And he said, "You meditate, right?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Well, I believe in God as well." He said, "I believe I'm supposed to have a conversation with you." I said, "Okay." He said, "I would love to be able to have a brief conversation with you." I said, "Not a problem." So when I was leaving, I went in front of him and his wife, and I said, "May you be blessed. May God be with you." And then he said, "May I speak with you?" And he pulled me to the side, and he started telling me that he's a seer, and he's also a warrior, and he battles demons, and right now he's trying to find a safe place to hide away from a demon that's after him. And his wife is a star seed. Oh, you know what star seeds are? I'm like, yeah. And he said to me, I know that you have a lot of knowledge and that you're also an oracle. And I said, okay. And then since I was leaving, this is the course of no more than 10 minutes. Since I was leaving, but he had been sitting where I was there for an hour and a half. So he had been sitting, bathing in the energy of the torsion field, because the torsion field extended way out. So I said to him, before I leave, because I could feel in my solar plexus as an empath that he was afraid. I said, do you mind if I give you and your wife a blessing? He said, no, of course, I would appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And I gathered them together and I grabbed their arms and I gave them a blessing. I said, and before I did the blessing, I said to them, and this is the part that I want you to understand, and this is the part, I'm going to elaborate on this in a second. I said to them, I am a priest of Melchizedek, and I hold an energy of neutrality and liberation. Up to that point, I have never uttered this to anyone. I may have known something inside of me. And the interesting thing is that an hour earlier, when I was in meditation, the thing when I was going in my core, I kept hearing your identity. Who are you? Your identity. Who are you? And it just came out. And when I said this, I felt it through and through. Like I was claiming something I had buried deep inside of me. And I have to tell you that at that moment, after I did the blessing for them, and I said to them, stay quiet. It's going to take about 5 minutes. When I was done, I said, may the peace, the serenity, the love, and the liberation that I know pass on to you. And as I exhale, I just saw what the connection and the serenity, the rest that I have, I pass it on to them. As I exhale, it literally left me. Of course, it's not that he actually left me and I was left empty, but I extended it to them. That's the better word, because it's when you say he left me, it's like I was left empty. You're never empty. You're always, I'm still full with God. But what happened is that it extended from me and moved into them. When I said pass on to you, and it moved. And then I walked away, I bowed down in front of them, and I walked away. I don't know their names. I saw them today in the park again, but I don't know their name. I don't need to know their name. I don't need to know their detail. I don't need to know anything. They needed to receive that blessing. And by me doing this, it allowed me to connect to that identity that exists in me. And there are multiple identities, and this is what I want to talk about today. There are multiple identities that we exist in because we belong to multiple group bodies. Whether it is the group body of the family, the group body of the church, the group body of the social group that you're in, the local community, the group body of your gender, the group body, etc., etc., etc. But there is a group body that is connecting you directly to God. And ultimately, that's what you have to claim. And of course, in a day, course of a day, you can you can be the son, the daughter, the husband, and then move into being the provider and move into all of them belonging to different group body and being the defender and being, the social activist and the caregiver. Okay, you could do that in one day. Let's say you see an old woman walking down the street and you help them cross the street. You're trying to be the caregiver, you know. And as you do this, you move from identity to identity, like masks that we're wearing. But the more you converse with your core, the more you have inner dialogue, the more you begin to understand who and what you are, the more you begin to comprehend the depth that exists in your core, the more you begin to accept and surrender into greater, because it's a huge thing for me to claim something like this, knowing who Melchizedek is. These are incredible big shoes for me to step into. And I don't say this lightly. And again, this is the first time I've ever uttered this. I've received initiation from Melchizedek. I've seen Melchizedek in dreams, in meditation. I've never, ever claimed this. And these individuals, that couple, were the opportunity that I needed to actually acknowledge this. Because they were claiming, as this man was talking to me, he was saying, you're an oracle, you're a seer, you're a this, you're a that, you have a lot of knowledge, you have wisdom. None of them felt right to me. When I spoke to them, I claimed who I was. Any questions, any comments?
My dear brother, Pierre, you did not step into those shoes. You always wore them.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you so much. It doesn't feel that way. Thank you for saying this. We are, you know, what was it that they said? You're never a prophet in your own country, and sometimes it takes it for you to travel somewhere else to actually find yourself. And you know, I don't see it. You understand? Maybe other people have seen it, but I don't see it. And it takes a minute for me to find myself, to find the right situation for me to acknowledge who and what I am. Thank you. Thank you for saying this. Any other questions, any other comments?
Yeah, you touched on so many things, and Janice also touched on a lot of things as well. And I was just thinking, you know, we're living at the end of the age, and for the new to come, the old has to go. So we have to see this, you know, confusion breaking and the reestablishment. But when Janice was, when you were talking here, the scripture that supports what you were saying is out of the book of John. And there was a song, it's a gospel song, maybe Bobby and Esther might remember this. It's a singing in the church. He said, Jesus saw the blind man sitting by the wayside, and his disciples asked him, Master, who did sin? And Jesus said, neither the man nor his parents, but that the works of God could be manifested in him.
Uh-huh.
So as we're doing the things that we're doing is to remember our first estate, that we would be able to be those vessels through whom Spirit would be able to pour itself. And just so many things came flooding to my head. And, you know, it's man who has separated all these things into different categories, but everything that's happening to us is spiritual in nature. And if I tell myself, you know, just, you know, be quiet, take those 10 seconds and remember, just be quiet. And as you're being quiet, then you're able to hear that still small voice that will direct you, you know, either into action or the non-action that you spoke about, because they're both very, very important. If something traumatic was happening and it meant, you know, life or death, that you said nothing, then that's the time to say nothing.
Mhm.
If it was time for you to take some action and the spirit says go, that's the time to go.
Mhm.
And I remember my teacher always, she would wait until the spirit moved her into action.
Yep.
And invariably it would always be at the precisely the right time.
Mhm.
That's all I have to say. Just so many things came flooding in at the same time, and even if the society at large doesn't want to consider that there is, this turning of events that bring back the time that you have to make a compensation for the way you did something, thought something, enacted something. They try to make it like it's separate, but none of this is separate. It's all the same action. And so America, as well as any other country, they've gone around the world. They haven't treated everyone nicely. So, you have to draw that back to yourself. I mean, this country was occupied when Columbus came here. So there is that group karma. There are all these things in play at one time.
Mhm.
But I think for myself, I have to remember, I said, Solidia, this is not a game of checkers. This is chess. You have to think ahead. Think ahead. Think ahead. For the long game. For the long game. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Sylvia. You're totally right. And by the way, the chaos is not limited to here. And again, the neo-Nazis just won parliament majority in parliament in France. A year ago, the neo-Nazis again in Netherlands, in Dutchland, also won the majority in parliament. There's a resurgence of all kinds of, and again, if you're watching it from a detached as a witness, almost like from a God perspective, there is an agitator or multiple agitators, and they are not human.
Right, exactly.
That's the point. They are not human. And what they are after is the major players who are capable of broadcasting a frequency of liberation. And that's what they're after. It's not the rest of humanity they're after us. And we need to remain at peace and continue to pray. And the practice of, again, feeding our souls only what is of God. This is why I got these 9 prayers that I curated from a list of more than 50 prayers that I've channeled for the past, I don't know how many years, as a way to give us on a daily basis after we do this practice of first breath control, then the conversation with our God and with our call, and then the distortion field. And once all of these things are done, read the prayers as a way to connect, to kind of dedicate the day or the evening to that thought, that train of thought that connects you to God, or that connects you to the mercy of God, or that asking you to surrender yourself into spirit. And the moment you're in that space, and all of us, when we do it together, we create a link. We're in lockstep as you do it on a daily basis. I'm asking you to do this together with all of us on a daily basis. What's going to happen is that we're gonna move together the same way at some point in the past when we did the wisdom of the mighty I am presence before we went to Wisak, and we all did that fire ceremony together, at the fire pit. So it's that kind of idea. There's going to be so much turbulence and so many things that are going to be like, what is, one of my neighbors was asking me very recently, what's going on today? Is the apocalypse here? And I started laughing, smiling to myself. I'm like, well, it does feel that way on some level, because again, the Maya and the illusion is so palpable and so powerful that a lot of my neighbors, when I have conversation with them, they're afraid. They're afraid. And if I am afraid and how big my energy is, I will broadcast more fear. And this is why they're trying to agitate through the back doors that I have open. They're trying to agitate all kinds of things inside of me. And so I need to understand this and make sure that I don't fall for the trap. And I have to remain in hope. I have to broadcast love. I have to broadcast kindness and compassion and mercy and acceptance. And if enough of us would be, again, torture and feel fully emancipated, all of us are doing this kind of work and we are broadcasting together, we will start syncing with each other. And as we overlap each other and sync with each other, we will create an energy field collectively that's much stronger than the sum of the parts. And it will begin to allow others to see it's a joke. And I have to tell you, it's already working. Day after the assassination attempt, same day, on mass media, on Facebook and also on Instagram, I saw people who I thought were conservative post, do not believe anything that you're seeing. It's all in a game and an illusion. You need to stay calm and remain in unity and in kindness. Be that kind of message. I saw 3 people posting similar messages. And I thought to myself, they're getting it. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So we need to be very cognizant about where our consciousness is and what kind of emotions, events, trigger is going to try to agitate us into fear, into reactivity, into doing something dumb and stupid. I'm seeing people on the street all the time that are agitated, people who seem to be coming from work or to be, and then they're talking very loud and they're agitated and they're screaming from the top of their lungs. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, they're having a moment, whatever it is, the metrics has got them. And I have to walk away from them because they can become violent at any moment. And I again, I'm inviting you to understand that practice that I just talked about, for you to do it with us, but more to the point, aside from the practice, I want you to begin to have that inner dialogue. I know some of you are already doing it, that inner dialogue with God, to have that inner conversation in your core, and to know when to listen and when to act, to know when to stay in the state of rest and stand fast, and when to move, because Spirit will tell you. And when you don't listen, you make a mistake. And a lot of times Spirit tells me things, and I still make mistakes. Even now, I still make mistakes. Slight deviation. Spirit says, don't do this now. And I'm like, no, and from an intellectual standpoint, this item didn't work out, that thing I was doing with the software didn't work. Let me try it again. And I do it, it creates a whole bunch of chaos. If I had listened and waited, it would avoid a whole bunch of things for me. So that's what I'm talking about. We should be very aware that we are spiritual beings. We are all members, priests and priestess of Melchizedek. And as such, we should not only claim that identity, and many of us are not going to claim it initially. I know I didn't. You're going to have to work your way through it. You might think of yourself as the healer, or the singer, or the brother, the sister, the mother, the friend, the supporter, and then slowly bring yourself into believing who you really are. So one can even say that all identities will continue to evolve and emancipate. And it's like, and there will be multiple masks that we have to take off to and disconnect to various group bodies so that we can begin to allow ourselves to accept ultimately who we are and the purpose and the role we came here for. Because if we can do this, we will be able to step into our true power. And I can say to you that the section where I go for my daily walk and sit down to meditate, except for my two friends that I talk to, that comes and sits with me and talk to, and a few people who have seen me for more than 5 years in that spot. For the most part, my eyes are closed most of the time, so I don't know people because my eyes are not open. But when my friends are there, I'm talking, people walk in front of me, the namaste animals. I had this geese that came and kneeled at my foot today. And again, I'm in meditation and in prayer, and it's a long geese, but usually they come in a couple or 2 or 3 of them at a time. This one came by itself, and it kept on circling around me, and eventually it crouched itself down next to me. Again, because it's absorbing this energy of liberation. Now, I didn't even know the geese was there, except that it began to make some noise and using its beak to pick up some food on the floor. And then when I opened my eyes, it was there. And they are very people friendly. It was looking straight at me. I acknowledged it, and I kept feeling kindness and love radiating from my heart for it. And I felt an acknowledgement. I felt a connection. And again, I'm saying this because I want you to understand this idea of radiating the love from you. What do I mean by radiating? By the way, let me stop here. Any question in your other comments? Because I'm about to shift into something else. Any question, any comments? I want to go back over one item with this couple. My only purpose that day in being in that waterfront is for me to have shared with them this gift. As I said, I don't know their story, I don't know their name, nor do I need to know any more detail. I needed to just, sometimes the less you know, the better you are. Okay, I don't need to know the details. And the stronger the light that you share will be. Because it's not coming from your ego or your frontal lobe, you desiring to know and being curious and asking them all these details that are not important. What's important for them, and particularly for this man, because he was afraid, was that he needed to have that fear vanish. And I simply shared with them the serenity, the protection that I had. Now, when you're doing the torsion field, and particularly if you put your foot on the ground and you're doing it, what's going to happen is that the way we have it, where the center of the donut is now open and the next opposite torsion field comes in the center of the donut and counter rotates, goes to the core of the earth and blah, 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 and all that. So if you're doing it that way, what's going to happen is that you're going to not only sense and feel the core, you're going to also sense and feel the entire perimeter, how far the torsion field is beginning to travel. And each guardian that comes in from the guardian light, so light will ground around you and in you their torsion field of neutrality in higher and higher and higher dimension. And by the time you are done, you're going to be in an altered state. Now they have done this for now almost 6 days now, 7 days actually. What happened, because we started last Sunday, it's actually 7 days. And what happened is that I am now in a, it's very hard to explain. Like after I'm done doing this and I can feel, because I'm doing this to banish the other group bodies and the energy of the archons that are trying to interfere with the integrity of my goal, with the inner conversation that I'm having with God. I'm banishing them out because I don't need to broadcast this. I need to broadcast hope. I need to see the glass always at half full. I need to see acceptance and love and wisdom. And I need a lot of times, as I'm connected to that energy, to remain in silence and say nothing and just witness. Like my two friends, particularly the gentleman, is always asking me, "Why are you so quiet? Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything is right." Like today, he asked me multiple times. I'm just listening. I'm just listening. Everything okay with you, Pierre? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just listening," because I don't need to speak. Like today, my energy was so big, he was falling asleep. He came in and he kept saying, I'm nodded off. I could fall asleep. I said, "You should go home and take a nap." So sometime all you need to do is be in proximity of someone, and that's the service work that you're doing. Sometimes the service work is not about giving to charity or writing a check or helping an old lady cross the street, or although I've just the other day I have this old woman, this older lady in my neighborhood across the street. That's, again, you're going to be guided. There are moments where you have to take action, and there are moments where you have to just walk away. You will know, and Spirit will say to you, "No, don't interfere with this. Walk away." So I'm trying to encourage you to understand that your identity will continually shift. Maybe right now you don't see yourself, nor will you accept yourself because of your shame as a Melchizedek, the priest or priestess of Melchizedek, but you should be very aware that it will emancipate, it will, at the right moment, that identity will drop on you, and you will know it. Through and through, you will know who you are. I remember there was a scene in the first Matrix when the Neo went to see the Oracle, for the Oracle to tell him whether he was the metric, he was the one, the avatar, the one or not. And then he walked in her kitchen. She was baking cookie. It's a cute scene. And then he said, "So I'm supposed to tell you whether you're the one." And she said, "Let me take a look at you." And she said, "Say ah." He said, "Stick your tongue out. Let me look at your eyes." He said, "Sorry, kiddo, you're not the one." And then Neo was like, and then he said to Neo, "But you already knew this, right?" Neo said, "Yes." And he said, "You have the gift, but it looks like you're waiting for something." She said, "Being the one is like being in love. No one needs to tell you that you're in love. You just know it through and through." That's exactly what I'm talking about. as the identity of Melchizedek. When you begin to ascend and you cross that boundary, no one needs to tell you who you are. You just know it through and through. Right now, I'm cultivating in the process of this broadcast, in the process of me being just a witness. Because here was the other thing as well, added to everything else I just said. What's happening in the world or in this country or in your neighborhood or in your family right now, the scale of the change, of the quick and accelerated change, are so big that you and I cannot change them or cause any significant move in the needle in either direction. We're too small. The thing that we can do is that we can take, particularly if it's karma for the United States or for whatever country or the planet, we can take the issue, because the future has not landed yet, and we can take it to God. And we can ask God for a softer landing. Out of mercy and grace, we can ask us to have mercy on humanity and have mercy on this nation, have mercy on this group or this individual. Help the world leaders understand the acceptance, the love, and the compassion of your heart. Make them feel, because God is capable of doing it. It's not for me to do. Because if you try to do it and move it, you're going to take the collective karma and it will become yours. This is not the role we signed up for. At least I know I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for a broader support, more like a witness, but not just a witness, because a witness sounds like they don't get involved, and it's not necessarily the case. Because a lot of time, by your sheer presence and the fact that you're watching and you're observing without having a stake one direction or another, but you're radiating a different broadcast, which is get along, be kind and be loving to each other, work out your karma. And because that's what you're broadcasting, and because your energy is so big, it entrains others, meaning the field or the edge of the torsion field. As you radiate that love and that compassion and that kind of understanding out, it radiates all the way out into it. And everyone in your circle of influence get it. And they begin to accept it, and they begin to see it. And they begin to connect to it. Any questions, any comments? All right, I'm gonna move in the broadcast part. So because we share DNA with most of humanity and we're all interrelated, the microtubulin structure inside of us, which is the Nadish channel, we talked about these, the microtubulin network in about 3 or 4 classes ago. And it has to do with the quantum identity. That microtubulin network is highly connected to our breath, or how we inhale or exhale. In Indian teaching, it's the pranayama, the breath. And there are different kind of breath. There are shorter breath, there are longer breath, there are breath in one nose, not nose, to the mouth, through the nose, and all kinds of things. It's the consciousness with which you're taking it. And as you do this, it shifts the crystalline structure, which are the microtubule, to begin to glow in very specific frequency. And when that happens, it begins to connect us to the blessed field. And in this connection to the blessed field, it's the quantum field, or blessed field, whichever way you want to call it. You enter into a direct connection to God. You get inspired, you feel, know, see things. You're conversing directly and intimately with your creative principle as you see it at the moment. Although that itself will emancipate as your identity changes. And so as that occurs, one of the things that I'm in the process of doing, or attempting to do, and trying to do better, is that I'm trying to project and extend the broadcast in a more conscious way. Because by proximity, if I'm the same DNA than you, and my microtubule is radiating a frequency of serenity or peace, like I was with my friends a little bit early this morning, my microtubule is radiating peace, and he's not at rest, he's disturbed, and for his own personal reason. And then he sits next to me. What happened? All of a sudden, the quantum and the radiating microtubule frequency begin to resonate through his, because we're not disconnected. We all exist in the same field. So because I'm close to him, I am now by proximity radiating, or rather reminding him that you too can be in that peace without having to say a word. You too can find that peace. You too can be at rest. You too can be liberated. And when you know this in your core, and again, the more conscious you are, now automatically it's going to happen. But to do this consciously is even more potent and more powerful. And I'm going to show you how to do this in two ways. Okay? The first, which is what I do the most often, and this is what I did for that couple. And the words that I use to transmit, it's a transmission of a frequency. When I take them into the torsion field, I drop them into the pool of light, and I create the torsion field, I take them into the pool of light, and when I'm done, and I allow the light and the connection with my eyes closed, for spirit to guide them and bring them into whatever it is that they need, and give them the healing that they need. When I felt that it was done, I said aloud to them. And when I said it, I felt it was a transmission coming from me into them. Like I'm actually radiating, and it went with my breath and with the words that I'm saying. So it was a coordination of my word or throat chakra to communicate and to decree to them what I'm saying. So it's not just a repetition, a mindless repetition. It's a decree. Okay? As I say the words, I'm declaring it to the universe. And since I am now connected to the blessed field, and I've taken them into the blessed field, and as I declare it, I just say to them, may the peace, the serenity, the love and the liberation that I know. I usually say peace and serenity and whatever other emotion that I'm feeling at the moment, that I know pass on to you. And as I say pass on to you, I transmit it. I radiate it out from me into them. It's a decree. Every molecule, every atom, every part of the universe, as I say this, is listening. And I'm declaring it as law. Any questions, any comments about that thought?
I suppose, Pierre, that verbalization is important as it becomes a vibrational component of the transfer. Not, in other words, a thought, even a deep, profound thought, would not do the same.
Yes, I can do it silently when I'm doing a remote healing for somebody. Yes.
Oh.
But yes, I can do that. Like I can have somebody on the phone. I don't have to say it. I can release the thought and they will feel equally the same thing. But you're a vocalist, you're a singer. You know the power of words and frequency.
Mm.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
You understand? And because of this, and you will know whether the person can accept it silently or if they need to hear it.
Ah.
These people were so disempowered, they needed to hear this.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You understand what I'm saying? And you as a vocalist, you've mastered your voice. When it comes from that place, it's like trying to find the emotion behind a score and the feeling. It's coming as a natural connection to the very metrics and the essence of being. And the ecstasy and the liberation that you're feeling, you're transmitting it to them. And with this decree, you say it, and they will get it. And for somebody like you, it will be even more powerful because you spend your entire life using that instrument.
Mm. Hmm. Well, it's powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? This is why so many time in the Bible, Jesus, by his own word, would stop things, will stop a storm, and it's by the utterance of his own certainty. And when you utter something like this and you project it, let me explain to you on a deeper level what you're doing when you're transmitting it. The Antakarana that the Guardian Alliance of Light just created, that's your Melchizedek rod that passed in through you. Temporarily, you project it like the Guardian had just projected on top of you. A torsion field of light, you project it onto them. When you say pass on to you, your Antakarana moves temporarily out and goes into them, and it creates a bubble of protection for them.
In that case, Pierre, may I just ask,
Yes.
if you did ask them for permission
Yes.
to bless them in that very direct way.
Yes.
If you were just projecting your torsion field and they happened to pass into that field and were impacted by it, there is no permission needed?
No, because what you're doing, okay, when you're radiating love, love is the basic currency of this entire universe. In fact, the other negative emotion or aberration. So when you're radiating love and you're broadcasting and you're creating your torsion field, you're actually connecting to the blessed field in its purest and most loving manner. But you're not. The reason I asked them for permission is because whatever fear he was experiencing about a demon after him, that was part of his karma. I asked him for permission because I'm going to temporarily disrupt this. And I even said to them, you will have that protection for 7 days. After that, it's up to them to figure out, you know, they're going to have a moment. He needed a breather. Him and his wife needed a breather. And so I told them very specifically, I said, what I'm going to create for you will last for 7 days.
I wonder if, had you not asked for permission to do this, if the negative being or energy that was plaguing him through his karma would have passed to you.
No, it would not pass to me because I'm neutrality. Okay? When you're in that field, torsion field is created, you're neutrality. Things are not going to come to you. They will come to you if you're judging people, or you think you're too weak, you're not capable of doing it, and you get afraid. That's the way that the field is going to be disrupted. Okay, so it's not going to come to you. Nothing is going to attack you. That will never happen because it's 0 point energy, scalar waves. And if it's 0 point, all of these other energy system or charge, they are at -5 +7, whatever it is that they are not 0 point.
So the moment you're emotionally charged to react is your cue that you are vulnerable.
That's correct. You create a back door for things to enter. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. So when I'm broadcasting and I'm doing the torsion field, I'm just generally radiating it out. I'm doing it for my benefit, but I'm also, it's like a wave, the best way I can describe it. Radio waves fly everywhere, but unless you have a proper reception device to hear the wave, you're not going to get it. That's what the torsion field does around people. Some people have equipment, in other words, they are prepared, because a lot of time for a moment they are around you, they're like, I feel good around you. Like my friend who's still struggling, my older friend who's still struggling. He doesn't get it because he has his own karma and his own demon that he's battling with. And honestly, I'm not trying to change him. I'm just being a loving friend. And if him being in my proximity, he remembers something, although every once in a while he asks me spiritual question and I answer him in the most honest way, and he's very receptive to it, but he's not a spiritual person. He's interested in young girls and going out with friends and having companionship. That's what he's interested in. He's a lovely Italian man, but he's not interested in doing the saving the world thing. So when he's in my proximity, I know that I'm broadcasting. The person who is in that field can choose to receive or to not receive. The same way with a radio, you can tune in and dial into the frequency of the broadcast and get it, or you can turn it off. Whereas when I'm doing a healing like this, I ask for permission because I'm gonna, with intention, I'm gonna deliberately connect them to that higher power in a very specific way. I'm gonna create a real link for them. Does that make any sense, Janice?
Yes, of course. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? So the intention that you have in your heart becomes important. And whatever that intention is, it allows, it fuels the broadcast. So the higher the intention, again, this is why you have to make sure that you're not in fear, because you're going to broadcast the fear. You have to make sure that you're, you're radiating the love and the compassion and the kindness. And as you do this, it gets bigger and bigger, bigger, and it becomes something all loving and all encompassing. And so for me, when the second, I told you what I was gonna show you two ways. The second one, it's for you to do it around a large, like this is a small, the first part is around a person or a group of people. If you had like an entire area, like let's say for example, a block or a whole room or a house that you needed to help create this 0 point energy around. Okay? There is a second way to do this. You're gonna have, you need to write this down. You're gonna have to say, begone time and space. I'm gonna show you how to do it in a second, but you need to write this down. Begone time and space. And the way you do this, I've done this in front of some of you sometimes, and you can feel the shifting energy is immediate. So you need first to be in connection with the torsion field and your serenity, your peace, and your neutrality needs to be completely grounded in you. And you're going to take the right hand or the left hand, doesn't matter, your dominant hand, and you're going to say it like this: begone time and space. 3 times: begone time and space. And then lift your hand out, and at that moment, in your mind's eye, you move your antakarana and you place it almost like a rod in the center of the room. Begone time and space. And then it shifts from you in the center of the room. And then you're now asking the guardian in that center to create a torsion field. And all you're doing is that you're breathing the breath with the guardian coming from the core of the earth. And you're seeing in your mind's eye the rod in the center of the room, and you're just following what the guardian will do. You're not doing in the torsion field. It's a very different thing. You're not forcing it, you're not creating it. The guardians are going to create it. Begone time and space, hands out, and then see your antakarana or the axis of Melchizedek, the rod of Melchizedek in the middle of that room. And then, if that's easy for you, the rod of Melchizedek is in the middle of that room. And then take a deep breath from the core of the earth with the guardian as the first guardian comes in, and let it move, go into source and create the torsion field around that entire space. And then let the second guardian come in counterclockwise, go down again, and see the entire torsion field get created. And you follow it with your breath. Because the guardian can do it. But remember, the guardian is in 4D. We are the last bead in the necklace to allow that high frequency energy to ground on earth. It is through us. That's why you need to follow with your consciousness what the guardians are doing. It's extremely powerful, and it works in 2 minutes. Everything is shifted. It's like high level Melchizedek magic. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Pierre, the rod of Melchizedek that gets placed in a room, through this begone time and space process would be done on what kind of occasion rather than the torsion field, would you say?
Well, the way sometime I walk, okay, I'm gonna give you a very practical example. I don't know if you remember years ago, we had a dinner, I was giving what I used to call the Full Fest at this healing center on 28th Street. Okay, the alignment center. And when we went there, I walked in, the gentleman, he's a lovely guy. Big gold room and etc. I came in early to set up the chairs and the table and the cloth. I had taken a cater. And as I walked in, I had my dowsing rod to check the energy of the place out. Because in my experience, a lot of healing center, when you go into them, people in healing center are healing all the time, but they are not spiritually hygienic.
Mm.
They drop everything everywhere, and it's actually extremely polluted with all kinds of things. So the place is not spiritually sanitized. So when I came in with a dowsing rod, I was looking for a positive space. There were no positive space in the entire room.
Hmm.
So I put the rod down and I said to the owner, I said, I need an 8-foot round table. Do you have one? Oh yeah, it's in the closet. And he walked out. As he walked out, without me being alone in the room, I did it. When he came back with the table, I helped him set it up, and I took the dowsing rod, and he witnessed the dowsing rod having no positive corner. I took the dowsing rod again, and I told him about this. I took the dowsing rod again, positive, everything was positive.
Hmm.
He said, what did you do? I said, don't worry about it. I took care of it.
Mm. I remember when 10 years ago, when Monty was going into surgery, you were in the room and you created a torsion field, I think, in his room. That, of course, wouldn't be the site of the surgery, but perhaps would be with him when he came back, right?
Yes. Well, it would also, since he's in the hospital, the torsion field takes the entire hospital.
Ah, yeah, okay. So that could, whether you're aware, have a dowsing rod or not, if
Yes.
you're getting into any circumstance like that, medical or otherwise, it could open up a pathway to clear the energy.
Yes. It will shift everything out. But a lot of time, because it's so visual, because when you have people that are not believers who think like you're cuckoo, you can't stand in front of people and say, be gone, time and space. You go look like you're whacked out on your head.
I already think we're weird enough, right?
Yes. So that's why I have to be discreet when I do this. You understand? I close the door and I'm like, let me do my thing. It doesn't take no more than 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes for me to do. Let me close the door and do it, and then people can come back in.
So this is much faster than the.
It's way fast.
Yeah.
It's way fast.
Uh-huh.
And again, when you say be gone times and space, it's a decree from your voice and your it's a command to the universe.
Mm.
You are saying to the universe, time and space and everything in 3D, be gone. In other words, in 3 words, take me into the blessed field. Be gone, time and space.
Oh.
Actually 4 words, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh. So it's the illusion that you're banishing.
Yeah, you banish the entire illusion.
Right.
And then you get to the rod and you put the rod in the center of the room, and then you witness the guardian creating. And you go along, and I follow it with my breath. First torsion field gets created, then the opposite way. And literally, if there's anybody in the room that's with you, they will literally begin to feel the entire room vibrate and change because every item, every molecule in the room is being shifted and rearranged.
So you need to follow that with requesting the guardians create this torsion field.
Yes, it's not you. You're not doing it.
Melchizedek. It's
Yeah.
they
Yes.
go. They must go together. That okay.
Yes, yes, it's not you. You're not capable by yourself. Because if you do this, you're going to take people's karma.
Right. And that brings up another question, if I may, and then I'll shut up. But I sometimes think about requesting the guardians to do the torsion field instead of just jumping into it. Would that not be the protocol to follow? In other words, after you do the 12 universal breaths and you spend time listening in that field, then you do the torsion field. But shouldn't you ask the guardians to not just do it?
Yes, you can ask them. Yes, yes. If you ask them, it's actually better. And they'll come in right away. They'll come in right away.
I appreciate the subtlety, though, that you're not assuming.
No, absolutely. They'll come in right away because again, they know that in 3D. Okay, let's be very clear. We are the Guardian Alliance of Light in training in 3D. That's what we are. We're trainees. Because again, we are 4D and above, but in 3D, that alliance, because there's not enough people on the planet that's in neutrality, doesn't exist. We are it. So the same way they project themselves, and by the way, beyond time and space, every time a guardian comes in, they are doing the same thing on top of you.
Of course. So the rod of Melchizedek is present
Yes.
when the guardians create that torsion field for us.
Yes, that rod is actually in us. It's all Antakarana.
The Antakarana, I was just thinking must be the Antakarana.
Yes, it's the Antakarana.
Connect finally all these different aspects of the process.
Yeah, it's the Antakarana. It's the Rainbow Bridge.
Okay, I got it. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do a closing meditation in 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you notice. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And with every breath that you're taking, I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Become aware of your core. And your central axis. What kinds of information knowing that that part of your body is trying to share with you. What insights breakthroughs or expansion that this part of your body is trying to share with you. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. become aware of the rod of Melchizedek that is within you. And as you continue to inhale deeply and slowly, allowing your breath to move through that rod, passing through your core, you continue with this slow, purposeful breath, and the descent and ascent of the light of Melchizedek and the ascent of the love of the planet. Lord, help me remember who I am. Bring back into my remembrance my first estate and my true identity. And ground in me the knowing in every fiber of my being of my connection with you. Make me an agent for the transformation and change and help me guide others into a safe passage into the ascended tomorrow. May the peace the serenity the love and the liberation that I know pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was such a beautiful place. Immediately, we moved into this place, sacred, holy space. Was almost immediate, so you projected probably that for us. But what I received was a sense that it's a new dawn of understanding our place, our true truth that has begun. I also listened to my body, but it wasn't my physical body, but my spiritual body that had a message for me. And that message was, I should know better than wonder what the results will be for my PET scan tomorrow.
Oh,
I should already know.
oh, beautiful.
So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Beautiful. Stunning, 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 stunning. Love it, love it.
Oh, yes.
Oh. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all for listening and for being with me tonight. If you're on Patreon, thank you for your support. On YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next week. Blessings, everyone. Love you so deeply. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Love you all.